Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander viewers should exercise caution when watching this program, as it may contain images of deceased persons.
Everyone loves to watch films, and now with the rise of Indigenous filmmakers, our stories are being heard.
The rise of Indigenous filmmaking is beginning to positively change public views of Indigenous people and will continue to do so for years to come. Abby Williams reports.
Here in the southwest of Australia, increased funding and support from federal agencies and places such as Screen West have enabled motivated Noongar filmmakers to produce their stories. Not only nationally, but internationally, audiences are witnessing these spectacular films. The stories that are transporting us into an immensely rich and spiritual world that has existed for over 40,000 years.
I think in the past, Indigenous films probably weren't regarded as something that was an important part of the Australian film culture.
Hailing from the northwest of Australia, the current Screen West Indigenous manager, Kelrick Martin, directed and co-produced many films, including the documentary musical Prison Songs and Yagan.
Around the 90s, you've had things like the Debts in Custody Commission, and you've had the Terra Nullius results in Mabo and all that sort of stuff, and it really started to change people's political beliefs and political understandings of Indigenous Australians. And reconciliation, of course, was a big movement at those times as well. So I think a lot of government departments started to take upon themselves to really want to make those changes. One of the key organisations, I think, which made change for Indigenous film was Screen Australia, when they set up their Indigenous unit back in the mid-90s, and they started to focus money and energy on developing Indigenous filmmakers.
Dr. Glenn Stasic is highly regarded in the Indigenous film industry. Owner of Black Russian Productions, he's an active member in the Noongar community.
1979-78, there was a film called My Survival as an Aborigine from Essie Coffey. That was the very first film that an Aboriginal person was in control, or certainly in key control, as a director, an auteur, as part of the filmmaking process. So up to that point, there were about 5,000, if not 6,000 hours of ethnographic material that were recorded and produced by non-Aboriginal filmmakers about Aboriginal culture. So it took one film in 1978-79 to actually change the landscape. A lot of the Noongars, or a lot of the Aboriginal community, already know about these particular stories. They're aware of them. It's making the wider audience aware. And I try and find an audience that is young through to old. I want people to come to my films to be educated, to some degree entertained, and then certainly maybe changing their point of view.
Writer and director Dennis Simmons is a highly respected member of the Noongar community and co-directed the film Wodjuk to Wodjamap.
In the past we've been trashed in the media, always negative stereotypes, those kind of things. So having, films that really highlight our plight, the good things that we do, our culture, our history, I think it's really important for people to know about that, because in Australia, Aboriginal issues and Aboriginal people are kind of swept under the carpet. If somebody wanted to get into an Aboriginal person wanted to get into the film industry, firstly they could approach Screen West and say, look, and they'd be speaking to Kelrick Martin, but it's not an easy industry just to walk in and make a film. Screen West does have opportunities for first-time filmmakers to come in and do a little short film, which is always good at first, a good first step.
Look, Indigenous filmmaking and Aboriginal storytelling and Aboriginal multimedia is completely on the rise. Audiences love it. International audiences particularly love seeing Aboriginal stories on television and in camera and on in festivals. And the voice is there, and now it's about making sure that we continue with telling the stories that have been thousands of generations in the making.